Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're about to begin a quiet descent into one of the coldest, most intense battlefields of the 21st century. Imagine, you're standing on the outskirts of Kyiv on a frozen winter night. The snow blankets every rooftop. Street lamps glow dimly, their light flickering off the icy pavement. Somewhere in the sky, a soft buzzing sound echoes. It's a drone, sweeping silently overhead. You lower your head, not out of fear, but because the wind bites through your collar like a blade of frost. You listen closely, trying to tell whether it's a Turkish-made Bayraktar drone or the infamous Iranian Shahed gliding silently toward some unseen target. Everything seems still, but beneath the silence, war is alive, raging on three invisible levels: land, technology, and the human mind. Tonight, I'll walk you through all three, and you'll begin to see that modern war doesn't just erupt from cannons, it flows through network cables, encrypted signals, and viral TikToks. Oh, and if you think surviving a winter war is just about wearing a warm coat, well, let's just say, you might not make it. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I'm doing here. And feel free to share your location and what time it is for you right now in the comments. Now, lower the lights, maybe turn on a fan for some gentle background noise, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step carefully through the icy darkness, boots crunching on snow. A nearby building is dark, windows shattered, yet eerily calm. Kyiv tonight is more than just a city, it's a chessboard. And you're standing on a square that might move at any moment. Your breath forms soft clouds in the frigid air as you move past a burnt-out tram, its frame leaning like a war-weary skeleton. You're walking through the edge of Donbass now, a region carved by artillery, ambition, and history. Beneath your boots is frozen mud, but just a few feet below that lies something far older than this war: a maze of modern trenches. Inspired by World War I yet equipped with power banks, Starlink terminals, and thermal blankets made for Mars missions. This is the first layer of conflict, the ground war. Fighting here happens in bursts, weeks of silence, then hours of shelling. It's not cinematic, it's slow, deliberate, suffocating. Soldiers stay crouched for days, waiting for movement in the tree line. At night, some dig deeper trenches by hand, while others listen for the faint hum of a quadcopter above. Here's something most people don't know. A lot of the grenades dropped from drones are handmade in workshops, 3D printed, or modified from plumbing parts. War has entered the age of DIY. And yet, the big picture tactics remain ancient. Defense in depth, layered fallback lines, rotating patrols. Concepts born in the mud of Verdun now return with a Wi-Fi signal. But experts still argue, is trench warfare here a sign of strategic adaptation, or a failure of modern maneuver? The academic debate smolders like a coal fire, quiet, hot, unresolved. You stop and kneel, brushing snow from a small ridge of dirt. It's the lip of a foxhole. Inside lies a tangle of wires, battery packs, and a damp, dog-eared deck of playing cards. A war fought in inches. A war watched by satellites. And you're here now, squinting at the horizon, where the tree line hides things that don't always appear on maps. The air is colder now, biting at your knuckles even through thick gloves. You move slowly along the edge of a trench, the silence broken only by the occasional clink of a helmet or the soft crack of ice underfoot. This isn't just discomfort, it's one of the most powerful weapons in this war: the winter itself. Combat in sub-zero temperatures changes everything. Diesel fuel thickens, rifle bolts seize, a forgotten thermos becomes a block of ice in minutes. You look down at a Kalashnikov lying on a crate. Someone's fingers probably froze trying to reload it last night. This isn't the kind of war taught in textbooks. It's one where thermal socks are more valuable than radios. And the biggest fear is frostbite creeping in quietly while you sleep. During a cold snap last year, a Russian convoy stalled not because of enemy fire, but because batteries died simultaneously. The trucks simply stopped. Soldiers tried to warm them with campfires built under the chassis. That went about as well as you'd imagine. And here's a strange little fact: in one Ukrainian unit, they heated their tents using tin cans, cotton pads, and wax from old church candles. Makeshift, but effective. You chuckle softly. Church supplies saving soldiers. Who would have guessed? But the debate remains open. Is winter the great equalizer? Or does it secretly favor defenders entrenched in familiar ground? Historians can't seem to agree, especially when some of the most decisive counteroffensives happen during snowstorms. A soldier walks past you, steam rising from his breath like smoke from a dragon. His scarf is crusted with frost. He nods and keeps moving, boots crunching away into the dark. You follow behind, deeper into the cold, deeper into the fog of modern war. Somewhere ahead, the horizon shimmers slightly, the warmth of a generator tent. Or maybe just your imagination. The sky above you hums, faint but steady, like an electric mosquito circling lazily in the clouds. You pause. There it is again, growing louder, the distinctive, almost smug, buzz of a drone. You glance upward. Against the pale moonlight, you spot it, a tiny dot maneuvering gracefully. Almost like it's dancing. That one looks like a Bayraktar TB2. Turkey's semi-autonomous drone that has made headlines and memes alike. The locals call it the farmer's eagle. It doesn't care about your rank. It just sees heat, metal, and motion. This is the new high ground. The sky belongs to the drones now. You watch the shape float above, and your breath catches as another bulkier silhouette glides in from the east. That's not a Bayraktar. That's something cruder, deadlier. A SHAHED-136 loitering munition from Iran. Nicknamed the flying lawnmower. Why? Because it sounds like one. These drones don't just scout. They drop grenades into open hatches. They slam themselves into buildings. They record every movement and send it to operators sipping energy drinks hundreds of kilometers away. Here's something you probably didn't know. Some drone operators wear gaming gloves. Seriously. The fingerless kind with rubber grips, originally designed for marathon Call of Duty sessions. War has gone full esports. Academics are still arguing, are drones democratizing air power? Or are they just the new artillery? The answer shifts with every strike. Every viral video of a tank explosion set to techno music. You continue walking, eyes trained skyward. That's the paradox now. Your threat isn't in front of you. It's above you. And the worst part? You never hear the lethal ones. The silent drones. The ones without the lawnmower sound. Somewhere behind a hill, you hear a small pop, soft, distant, then nothing. Which is exactly what a successful drone strike sounds like. The road bends. You step into a narrow street. What used to be a quiet residential block in Bakhmut. Now, it looks like the set of a war film directed by a nihilist. Each building is riddled with bullet holes. Each window a dark socket. Balconies hang twisted like broken fingers. Somewhere, a door creaks in the wind. Just once, like it's trying to remember what home meant. You're now inside the most brutal layer of this war, urban combat. Block by block, stairwell by stairwell. Inside one apartment, there's a chessboard still set up. Rooks and pawns frozen mid-battle. Just like the soldiers who once lived here. That's real. Many units use abandoned homes as strongpoints. Kitchens become command posts. Bathrooms? Sniper hides. You peer through a shattered hallway and imagine how many times this street has been taken, lost, and retaken. The strange part? Some soldiers have grown so accustomed to fighting indoors that they build furniture barricades by instinct, couches, wardrobes, even microwaves. One group reportedly filled an entire stairwell with washing machines. Heavy, bulletproof-ish, terribly annoying. Experts argue whether cities like Bakhmut hold strategic value or are symbolic meat grinders. But for the troops, there's no theory, only dust, danger, and duct tape. You pass a school, the playground is gone, sandbags cover the entrance. Above the front door, the bell still hangs. It rang once during shelling, and soldiers swore it sounded like a warning from the past. A pigeon startles and flaps away from a windowsill. You flinch, then chuckle. It's always the birds. They're not afraid of war. Maybe they've seen too many. You rest your hand against a cracked wall. It's warm from a nearby generator. Somehow, life is still being lived here. Just differently. You follow the wall around a corner, where the air buzzes, not with voices, but with static. There's no visible enemy here. No fire. No explosion. Yet something's wrong. Your radio hisses. Your GPS flickers. Then dies. Welcome to the second layer of this war, the electronic battlefield. You've just stepped into a zone thick with electronic warfare, a realm invisible to the eye, but vicious all the same. Russia and Ukraine are locked in a technological fencing match here, and the rules change daily. Somewhere nearby, a jammer the size of a microwave oven is quietly frying signals like bacon in a pan. Drones fall out of the sky. Artillery strikes miss by miles. Even soldiers' encrypted comms become garbled or, worse, hijacked. And here's a fact most civilians miss. Sometimes, both sides end up jamming each other. Think of it like two neighbors playing music so loud that neither can sleep, but in this case, nobody's dancing, and people can die. An odd little truth? One Ukrainian EU unit named their system after a character from The Office. Because humor, even bureaucratic sitcom humor, helps you survive when the screen goes black. There's academic debate around this too. Are we entering a new age of soft, invisible combat, or is electronic warfare still too unpredictable to reshape the battlefield? Some analysts call it digital artillery. Others call it a really expensive guessing game. You crouch beside a junction box with melted wiring. Someone's tried to patch it using chewing gum foil. It's probably not regulation, but you respect the hustle. Up above, a cable droops low from a building to a pole, rerouted internet. Or a booby trap? Hard to say. This is war's gray zone, where every blinking light might be a signal or a warning. You move on, your gears strangely quiet in the static hush. The sky hasn't changed, but now, it watches you differently. You duck into an alleyway, guided only by the pale blue of a digital map that just vanished from your phone a few minutes ago. That's when you realize someone left their cell signal on. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But here in Ukraine, forgetting to switch off your SIM card can be fatal. In 2022, several tragic incidents began with something as innocent as a late-night call to mom. Russian artillery units, using advanced signal triangulation, locked onto phones that pinged local towers. Minutes later, boom, the war ended for everyone within a 30-meter radius. You touch your pocket, no bars. Good, you're either safe, or already ghosted by a digital phantom. Oddly, some troops have started carrying burner phones, not for communication, but for bait. They leave them in vehicles or foxholes and wait to see who targets them. It's hide and seek for the drone age. And here's the twist, in one weird case, a false Tinder profile allegedly led to a captured position. Modern war is basically a James Bond movie, but with worse lighting and fewer tuxedos. Strategists still debate how much electronic leakage impacts battlefield outcomes. Some argue it's overrated, others point to entire battalions wiped out by a single errant text message. The phrase, OPSEC, operational security, isn't just a buzzword, it's a lifeline. You pause by a burned-out car. In the ash on the hood, someone's drawn a Wi-Fi symbol with their glove. It's a joke, or a request, or both. A group of soldiers pass, each with antennae jutting awkwardly from their backpacks. EU specialists, ghost hunters in reverse. They're not looking for spirits. They're listening for real people who forgot airplane mode. You quietly toggle your own device again, just to be sure. Silence. Perfect. Blank. Underscore. Blank. You cross a field now, snow crunching beneath your boots, until the outline of a makeshift road appears, barely wide enough for a jeep. On either side, tall pines sway gently. It feels peaceful, almost surreal, but you know better. This is a logistics route, the veins and arteries that keep an army breathing. The soft glow ahead is no mirage. It's a field hospital, tucked behind camouflaged netting. Inside, there's the hum of a generator, the hiss of a portable heater, and the murmured instructions of a medic balancing a flashlight in his mouth. Winter logistics is the fourth enemy here. Not just cold, but distance, terrain, fuel shortages, and mud that clings like a jealous ex. In Ukraine, resupply isn't just difficult, it's heroic. You've heard of drivers nicknamed ghost trucks for their ability to deliver ammo through shelled roads and minefields. Here's a curious fact. Some frontline medics use expired insulin packs from veterinary sources because they're easier to store in freezing temperatures. Not ideal, but better than nothing. Academic circles argue fiercely, is decentralized on-the-fly logistics more efficient than centralized NATO doctrine? The answer, as always, is it depends on timing, terrain, and how many tires you have left. You step into the tent. The air is thick with antiseptic and courage. A soldier with a bandaged leg is laughing at a joke you can't hear. Nearby, someone is heating water with a flameless ration heater, steam rising like breath from a dragon's nostril. A young logistics officer greets you with a clipboard and a smile that's either hopeful or exhausted. Maybe both. Coffee? He offers. You take it. It's lukewarm, bitter, and glorious. Outside, the trees sway again. The forest doesn't care about convoys or wounds or trucks. But you do. Because without this quiet flow of supplies, the front line would vanish like steam into night. You step away from the forest's edge and find yourself in front of a battered billboard, its original advertisement long peeled away. Replaced with spray-painted slogans. Truth is the first casualty. It reads, "This is the third layer of modern war. You've fought through ground and tech. Now you enter the most invisible battlefield of all, the war for perception." Here, every explosion comes with a second detonation. Online, a missile strike is followed within minutes by shaky phone footage, grainy satellite snapshots, or slickly edited montages with dramatic music and suspect subtitles. You're not just dodging bullets anymore. You're navigating information warfare. A small town gets shelled. One side calls it a military depot. The other, a school. By the time the dust clears, hashtags have already taken sides. The strange truth? Both might be lying. Or neither. That's the game. You scroll a bit on your phone, airplane mode off just for a second. A photo of a destroyed bridge floods your feed, but the timestamp says 2014. Recycled, recontextualized, re-weaponized. And here's something most people don't realize. Professional info warriors on both sides run 12-hour shifts creating memes, subtitling TikToks, and adding reverb to videos of rocket launches. Some of them use the same editing apps as wedding videographers. There's a phrase you keep hearing: narrative superiority. It's the idea that winning hearts can be more important than winning territory. Experts still debate whether this approach builds resolve or blinds policymakers with curated images. You pass a group of journalists huddled in a cafe with cracked windows. One is live streaming a blurry front line. Another is editing a report using footage that, technically, might be from a different battle altogether. A soldier walks by and mutters, "If it's not online, it didn't happen." He's joking, you think. You step back into the street. The billboard still looms above, asking questions without answers. The road curves again. You duck under a tangled mess of wires strung from rooftop to rooftop. It almost looks festive, if war ever had holidays. But there's nothing celebratory about what's happening here. Tonight, you're entering one of the strangest, most unsettling fronts, the front of fakes. A soldier waves you inside a basement, lit by a single red bulb. There, on a cheap laptop, someone plays a video, the president of Ukraine, standing stiffly behind a podium, announcing a surrender. Only, it's not him. The voice is just a little off. His blinking is too perfect. And the shadow under his nose doesn't quite move with the lighting. It's a deepfake, and it fooled thousands before being debunked. This is where things get weird. One group reportedly used deepfake tech to simulate radio orders and cause confusion during an assault. Another faked a bombing video that prompted an international news outlet to issue a correction mid-broadcast. The academic community is deeply split. Are deepfakes a temporary nuisance? Or the next evolution in psychological warfare? The answer likely depends on how often your grandma forwards Facebook videos. And here's an odd little fact. Some units now train soldiers in visual skepticism, not just identifying enemy uniforms, but evaluating whether a viral clip has shadows that match the time of day. You glance at another screen. It plays a loop of drone footage set to techno music, claiming to be from this morning. You know that tree line. You were just there. It's months old. Someone chuckles. Doesn't matter. They say, people believe what they feel. And that's the battlefield now. Not trenches, not towers, but trust. You step back into the cold. Your reflection stares at you from a cracked window pane. Even it looks suspicious. You're walking again, this time past a rail yard turned depot. Crates marked in multiple languages lie stacked like oversized Tetris blocks. Some are spray painted with flags. Others simply say, fragile, in 6 alphabets. This is where Western aid arrives, not with fanfare, but forklifts. You pass rows of armored vehicles, some fresh from factories, others looking suspiciously secondhand. A mechanic wipes his hands on a rag and gestures toward a tank. That's a Leopard too. She's German, drinks diesel like it's Oktoberfest. Here's what people forget: supplying a modern army isn't like shopping for parts. Every HIMARS, every Javelin, every M777 howitzer comes with a jungle of logistics, training manuals, spare parts, adapters, and translators. The fun twist? Some of these NATO weapons run on imperial measurements, while local gear uses metric. It's the military version of trying to bake a cake in Celsius with a Fahrenheit oven. And yet, it's working, somehow. Ukrainian crews have learned to operate complex weapon systems in record time, sometimes by watching subtitled YouTube tutorials. Seriously. But experts argue, is this a sustainable model? Or just an improvised miracle? Some say it's like building an IKEA army with parts from 3 continents. Others say that's exactly the kind of flexibility 21st century warfare demands. You stop near a pile of camouflage netting covering crates of artillery shells. A soldier waves you over. He holds up 2 shells, one new, one, let's call it, vintage. Same diameter, vastly different personality. He grins. If it fits, it ships. You move on past pallets of body armor, medical kits, and socks. So many socks. Turns out, the most requested item in winter warfare is dry socks. That, and instant coffee. A forklift beeps behind you. You step aside, letting the wheels of Alliance roll forward, slow, creaky, caffeinated. You leave the depot and follow a frozen dirt path toward the east. A hill rises in the distance, bare, wind-swept, and strangely quiet. From the top, you see fields pockmarked with shell craters stretching for kilometers. No trenches here, just space, open and waiting. This is where Russia fights the old way. You watch as a distant MLRS truck, multiple launch rocket system, kicks up smoke, launching a ripple of missiles into the horizon. The sound reaches you seconds later, like thunder caught in a blender. Russia's approach in many areas, especially early in the war, was heavy, grinding, almost medieval. Massive artillery barrages, wave tactics, and overwhelming firepower. Some analysts call it meat grinder doctrine. Others call it attrition. Either way, it leaves a trail of silence when it's done. What you might not know: some of the Russian artillery systems in use date back to the 1970s, and they're still effective. One system, the 2S-7 Pion, can fire 203mm shells over 35 kilometers. That's like lobbing a washing machine across a small country. But even old dogs get upgrades. Many legacy systems now carry digital guidance modules, small, boxy attachments that allow analog weapons to play in the digital sandbox. The debate among experts is sharp. Are these tactics outdated, or brutally efficient against a high-tech but supply-limited opponent? You pass by a crater the size of a swimming pool. At the edge, twisted rebar and fragments of what might have once been a truck lie dusted in snow. Nearby, someone stuck a broken shovel in the ground like a flag. You don't ask why. Further down the ridge, you spot a line of tank tracks vanishing into a grove of scorched trees. T-72s, maybe, or just ghosts pretending to be steel. Above it all, the sky stays cold, watching, waiting for the next barrage. The path turns northward now, skirting the edge of a pine forest where the snow seems heavier, older, and oddly untouched. The map says you're nearing the Belarusian border, but the landscape offers no hints, just trees that look like they've been waiting for centuries. And that's the thing, Belarus hasn't fired a shot, but its shadow looms large over this entire conflict. You pass through an abandoned checkpoint, signs in Cyrillic, shattered security cameras, and tire marks half frozen into the mud. Months ago, this very trail hosted columns of Russian armor during the initial thrust toward Kyiv. The push failed, but the route still breathes. Officially, Belarus is not in the war. But unofficially, its airfields launch Russian jets. Its hospitals treat Russian wounded. And its roads? They whisper history. Of Soviet alliances. Of backdoor strategies. Of wars not yet declared. Here's something odd. Satellite analysts once spotted inflatable tanks parked in Belarusian fields, decoys. Yes, literal balloon tanks. War's version of carnival games. Meant to fool satellites and maybe confuse nervous analysts eating cold noodles at 3 a.m. Strategists continue to argue, is Belarus a passive partner, a reluctant hostage, or a ticking second front? The answer depends on what day it is, and who's pressuring whom behind closed doors. As you move deeper into the woods, you notice camouflage netting draped over fallen logs. Not recent, but not ancient either. A fox darts across your path and disappears without a sound. Somewhere in the distance, a soft mechanical rumble rolls through the trees. Could be a tractor, could be something far less agricultural. You tighten your scarf and keep walking. In this quiet corner of the war, stillness itself can be strategic. Sometimes, doing nothing says the most. You emerge from the woods onto a ridge, where wind cuts sharper than any shrapnel. Below, a vast flat land stretches, fields, roads, and little clusters of buildings. But your attention is drawn farther outward, not to what's here, but to who's watching. Because this isn't just Ukraine and Russia anymore. This battlefield has become a three-player chessboard, and the other two kings are seated in Washington and Beijing. To your left, the glint of Western satellites, sometimes visible, often not, tracking heat signatures, communications traffic, and even vehicle dust trails. To your right, quiet diplomatic murmurs from China, calculated, hedging, always watching for strategic imbalance. The United States provides arms, training, intelligence, and political pressure, but it also walks a tightrope. Too much aid, and the conflict could widen. Too little, and Ukraine falters. Some say this is Cold War 2.0. Others argue it's an entirely new form of pressure balancing, a kinetic proxy with nuclear undertones. And China? Publicly neutral, privately invested, watching how the West reacts, taking notes, testing reactions, learning what not to do, or exactly what to do, if another conflict flares in Taiwan. Here's something you won't find in many textbooks. During one stretch of the war, analysts tracked a spike in Chinese drone exports labeled as agricultural monitoring tools. Just coincidence? Geopolitical theorists debated endlessly. Is this war a standalone conflict? Or a testing ground for future global positioning? Are Western powers shaping the outcome, or simply surfing the waves of a storm they can't control? You sit on a concrete slab at the edge of the ridge. Below, the fields look quiet, peaceful, even, but you know better. From this high ground, the war looks smaller, but that's a trick. Wars aren't measured in distance, they're measured in leverage. And leverage is everywhere now. You descend slowly from the ridge as the wind fades behind you. The fields flatten out, and the night deepens, not just in color, but in quiet. Every step you take now feels softer, more measured, like the land itself is holding its breath. This is where the war thins, where predictions take the place of plans. You reach a small outpost, just a few sandbags, a plastic chair, and a soldier sipping something warm from a dented metal cup. He nods at you but says nothing. Sometimes, silence speaks better than strategy. This is the question at the heart of everything. How does this war end? Some say Ukraine will negotiate. Others say Russia will freeze the lines and play the long game. A few, less optimistic voices whisper about a protracted conflict stretching across years, a bleeding wound on the edge of Europe. But then again, war rarely follows scripts. It writes its own, in mud, in data packets, in rumors passed by candlelight and satellite phone. One fascinating, little-known fact, in 2023, a group of Ukrainian and Russian veterans, off-duty, unarmed, accidentally ran into each other at a border crossing. Nothing happened. They stared, then turned away. Not every meeting ends in combat. Some end in confusion, or mutual exhaustion. Military scholars argue endlessly. Is peace a decision? Or a coincidence? Is deterrence working? Or is everyone just waiting for someone else to blink? You lean against the post and take in the stillness. The war isn't over, but it feels suspended. Somehow, like a breath before the next decision. Far away, the glow of a distant city colors the clouds orange. Somewhere out there, headlines are being written. But here, tonight, under the trees, there's only quiet. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. Blank. Underscore, blank. There's no more need to look at the sky tonight. There's nothing above you but peace. The kind that hums beneath the silence, not loud, not proud, but patient. You've walked far, learned much, listened deeply, and that's enough. You've done well. Now, close your eyes. Let the stillness hold you. Let go of the data. Let go of the theories. Let go of the next move. Because this night belongs to no one. And nothing. Except you. Good night, Commander.